let me get this straight. You want to hear my story? How much? How much for that information? I don't share things for free, kid. You know, you're rather intelligent to offer such an delectable price. Well, I shall begin. Get comfortable. This is a long one. I don't remember much from when I was a kid or an infant. When I was 8, I remember running from a dark place, then getting cozy in a warm bed with another small child. You know this child named Dionysus. I do have fond memories of that boy. I remember always wanting to play with him. I had to be careful. I had some medical issues. My heart, you see, it's flawed. It beats too fast and skips too many beats. As a child, I didn't pay much mind to it, but now I realize I should have. I grew up rather nicely. A good home, decent parents, a quote-unquote decent parents. Those people I don't really remember ever focusing on them. I was much more interested in their son, Dionysus. Powers were marvelous, like a beautifully crafted knife, a bowl of perfectly cooked rice all lined up in a row. Excuse my infatuation. To say the least, I was obsessed with his power. I wanted it. I worked very hard to be just as good as him. Nothing I did, though, was ever as good as him. I despise those who focus on one person and views them as everything, while those who are also in need of love, they forget and throw them aside. It's disgusting, this thing, neglect. Oh, sorry, I lost track of my thoughts. I'll continue. One day when I was 13, I worked extra hard to build my stamina and fighting skills and my magic. I asked Dionysus to duel with me. I did well, but a new part of him unlocked. His power flowed through his body as if it was a different limb, a different part of his body, an organ, or something more powerful. Like a fourth arm or an extra eye. He beat me with flying colors. I was left ashamed, disappointed. I hated that. I hated he made me feel worthless. I hated he made me feel so small. But even so, I accepted it. And that day, I decided never to try. Why try to be better than him when nothing I ever do would ever be as good? I thought it would be better that I would just be his friend, and I accepted that, even if it had ruined me. We grew up normally, I guess. I'd like to think decently of an average of my skills. I wasn't anything compared to Dionysus. He grew his skills, and even creators viewed him as something at least engaging. It was enraging, to say the least. I let that taste grow towards him. Growing and growing. But it wasn't too much to handle. All I had to do was avoid him and focus on what I liked, even if anything I did was never as important as universal manipulation. It was never anything as important as that. Take a moment to imagine being a sibling of someone favored, and you have to watch them grow, watch them gain more and more love and respect, just to watch them. Everything you deserved, that love, that care, those eyes, they belong to me. It had to be mine. It was supposed to be mine. It was supposed to be me. Sorry, I can get carried away. It frustrates me still, even if it's done now. Soon after I turned 16, Dionysus and I, mostly Dionysus, met a man. He was perfect. He was so... I needed that man. I needed him. I needed his eyes on me. But Dionysus, Dionysus, he was getting a little too close. I wanted that man. I needed him so much more than Dionysus, more than that twin could ever understand. Oh, yes, the man I wanted. His name was Ares. Ares was amazing, everything attractive, sexy, and whorish put into a stoic man. His eyes make me shiver. That day I decided that the twink had to go. I needed the man's attention. I killed Dionysus in cold blood. His screams were so alluring and almost made me want to stop. Stop when he begged, when his halo was broken, forced through the skull. I think I made him look rather beautiful, to say the least. The red of his blood brought out his hair, his skin. I got sick of his screaming, so I dug my fingers into his throat and ripped it out. I remember the sound so clearly. It still gets me. No, I feel no remorse. I feel none of that. That twink had it coming. I will say, it was a little too easy to convince the gods of my innocence. I now fully believe that they knew. But back then, no. I was too arrogant to think about that. I also didn't put into account that killing Dionysus would transfer his power all to me. One of his abilities was deal-making. Making agreements with mortals. And I found out rather quickly that every deal made me more powerful. So I went a little crazy with it. I flaunted my power, gained favor, eyes of many kinds of beings. I gave them minimal things, and in return I gained power. So much power, so much power. It felt good to be powerful, to be seen. I did use that more, I used more intimate things as well. What did it matter selling my body for power? It was a small thing. It was very small compared to the gain. Eventually, though, as a god, I was called upon. A war had begun between two sides, the Fates and the gods. I would be fighting as one of Crestian, the creator of imaginations, soldiers. I didn't have much choice in that matter. I did little to try in training until Ares. He lost his patience in me and, let's say, he put me in my place. For others, I'd beat them showing such disrespect, but him? No, I loved being his little toy. His cold eyes, his voice, his touch. His fingers held that shotgun so strongly, it makes me drool even now. He wasn't impressed with me, though. He wanted me to try. I was powerful, he knew that. But he wanted more. So as a good little puppy, I needed his eyes. We trained together for many, many, many years. We grew close, rather close. Very, very close. Some would even say I loved that man. I loved Ares, and he loved me, and so even though we were soldiers that were paired, our bond was more than that. Many nights we spent together, many mornings I'd wake up on his skin. His warm lips, his hands in my... Apologies. I'll continue on more important details. There was a night after I finished training. I was walking back to my dorm, my home. There was this voice. It was deep, yet a tinge of femininity. I looked around, then I remember stumbling back. This thing was massive, gray skin, so many eyes, 6 arms, large fox-like ears with additional large, sleek ears, a mouth that curved up to its ears, lined with teeth that went so far back and disappeared into the darkness of this throat. This thing, this absolutely terrifying creature, it radiated so much power, so much more than me, so much more than you could ever imagine. I later come to understand this thing was called Nalderic, an outer-versal abomination, a broken god, a being more powerful than the creators. Does that scare you? Knowing that at any point this being could stand before you and taunt you and tell you you're a joke and you're a liar. I'm not scared of many things, but that thing, that creature, it utterly terrifies me. It wasn't around for long, but I was told I was a nuisance, that the creators called me the Jester. Yes, that's where I gained the title you know me by. You're rather quick at putting things together. Well done. Finally, after training concluded, myself and Ares were sent out to fight. As gods, we don't wear much for physical armor. We were gifted with these rings. They were on our arms and our necks, allowing us to use mass amounts of power. They also assisted in keeping us safe and protected. It was going well as war could go. It was exhausting, but worth it. After many successful missions, I was sent out alone. Personally, I was honored in such a thing. Now, I know I was sent on a suicide mission. I was sent to eliminate 2 rogue soldiers, the god of illusion. A fucking childish incel of a being. I made it there. I did good. I didn't, but I wasn't told he wasn't alone. He had his brother with him. On a normal day, I would be fine, but those 2, they are one of the most cruel beings I've ever faced. Unlike me and the other soldiers I worked with, they didn't care about destruction. They didn't care if I lived or died. They didn't care that my death could cause a shake in universal fabric. They wanted nothing more than to be the best, the most powerful. I was in a losing battle. My heart, it wasn't doing good with the stress. I stumbled. Within a second, I was pinned to the ground. A large sword-like weapon entered my back and exited through my shoulder. Their tail wrapped around my neck, forcing it up. Only then I realized Ares. He had followed to save me, to get me out alive. By the time I had seen him, Mavros, the god of illusions, hand and arm was forced through his chest. There was so much blood. So much blood. And to add salt to the wound, Mavros didn't stop there. He made me watch as he ripped Ares apart. First his head, then his arms, then his legs, ripping through him as if he was a wolf devouring a rabbit. I didn't even know how to process it. They didn't even kill me too. They left me alive because I needed to remember. Because I needed to fucking remember their brutality. I don't know how long I stayed in the same place, seeing the blood in Ares' body slowly stop, then solidify. No, this isn't real. It's a dream, a nightmare. I consistently mumbled to myself. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't take the pain anymore, so I abandoned my responsibilities as a soldier. I grabbed Ares' weapon, and ran as far as I could. From the realm to realm, gripping my arm, the wounds felt like fire. I didn't know that touching the weapon that Ares wielded would transfer his power to me. So I became 2 gods in 1. Delightful, isn't it? A god heals its wounds rather rapidly, but oftentimes they'll scar. Mine scarred. Even then, the blood still destroyed my hair. I had to cut it. In a way that some would say looks clownish, but at the same time, it was just how it came out. I sat down in an old building in this realm we are in now. I spent days, maybe weeks, zoned out, empty, processing everything that I had just seen. Then that creature came back, Neldrick. It offered me a chance just to disappear, as long as I did as it told me. Gained information, gave it everything I knew. I never knew why it needed such information, but I agreed. I had to. I didn't want the other gods to find me. I needed to keep them from finding me. Neldrick would hide me away. I realized how stupid it was. This thing gave me currency, a large warehouse to hold whatever I wanted, a pocket reality just for myself that needed a specific key to access. It was just me, but I made it work. I made it my own. I named it Triple Spade. I came up with it because I was addressed as Jester, and Jesters play tricks. And I was always good at cards, or spade. As I know, it's really idiotic, I know. While working, I'd work with shady people, druggies, mafia bosses, criminals. I'd use whatever I knew and learned with my deals to pay off this creature. I'd make deals and buy and sell things. I'd gain and learn. It was pretty linear, but it was still better than fighting without my partner. I didn't even realize the war had ended by then, or even that my company had grown. I had people I found enjoyable or in need of guidance. I wasn't the best. I was never the best for them. But for an ex-convict, a criminal trying to better themselves, kids wanting shelter from abusive people, those with just plain bad luck in life, Aiden Circuit became my right-hand man, being the head of whenever I was out or wasn't doing well. Raphael was the performing arts head. She helped me build a place where those like her can grow and become something more fun, an entertaining community, which she now allows to be run by Aiden. Then there's Raina. She is the head of my spies. Her and we didn't always get along, but I am grateful for her. She's like the core of everyone. She keeps everyone feeling loved and safe. Finally, there's Lucky. Lucky is, for one, a hectic one. He loves doing stunts with Raphael, but those two always are coming up with odd shows. They all accept that I'm basically a criminal myself. I don't care about the laws. I don't care what those around me think. I do what I believe is good and what I think the world needs. A helping hand. And if I'm evil for being a murderer or a lawbreaker, a stalker, you get the point. Those people, my people, Triple Spade, they make me forget how sadistic I am. How I could have been a serial killer, a man who kills and only kills. I gladly admit that I do carry out murder for those who cross me, but my employees are not harmed in any way. As long as they remain respectful, I will do the same. I pay them all kindly. I house them, I feed them, I protect them. I pay for their needs and their services. It's little to ask for them to view me as their superior. Although that was not the case with them all, there's one I care so much for. A small silver siren named Nalo. Poor thing. Traffickers killed her family and sold her to me. Let's just say those people aren't around anymore. No one hurts my little girl. I don't say this often, but I truly love Nalo. And I truly care for my employees. I'm a monster, but I'm not evil. Well, that's my entire life up to a couple years ago. Nala was adopted by me when she was 5. She's now 8. Speaking of such, I have to go prepare her for her next show. Don't go telling anyone what you know. I wouldn't want to have to kill you. Don't worry, I'm joking. Just joking.